welcome to another edition of Fisher Football Focus. I'm your host, James Bailey. This past weekend was a big one for the Cardinals, a top 25 matchup in their Empire 8 opener against Cortland. The 15th-ranked Red Dragons were determined to defend their home turf against the 21st-ranked Cardinals. Meanwhile, Fisher was looking to avenge a 31-17 loss from last season. Let's see how this one played out. The Cardinals got things going early. Following an early Cortland field goal, quarterback Matt Nathan rolls out and hits sophomore Wyatt Staley in the end zone for a quick score. On the ensuing kickoff, Devin Zekowitz boots it deep to Cortland's Nick Anderson. Anderson begins his return and fumble! Chris Smith forces the ball out and recovers it for the Cardinals. Fisher took advantage of the short field as James Chambers forces his way into the end zone to give the Cardinals a 14-3 lead. Fisher kept their foot on the gas. Late in the first, Nathan airs it out deep to William Kuhn. 42 yards, down to the 1. Tony Fusco would score 2 plays later to extend the Cardinal lead. Into the second now, Cortland would try to keep pace. D'Angelo Walker is able to stretch into the end zone for a Red Dragon touchdown. The Fisher field goal would give the Cardinals a 24-10 lead heading into the half. Cortland pulled back to within a score on their first possession of the second half. Quarterback Kyle Schneider goes deep to a wide-open Jake Smith, who gets behind the Fisher D and runs 77 yards into the end zone. 24-17 Cardinals. Fisher would respond, though, with Nathan finding Mike Cliccio over the middle for a 30-yard touchdown, bringing the Cardinals back up by 2 scores. But midway through the fourth, Cortland would fight back. Alec Wasserman takes it up the middle 15 yards to pull the Dragons to within 7. Following a Fisher 3-and-out, Cortland would get the ball back looking to tie the game, but not so fast. Sophomore Damari Nelson picks Snyder off for his first career interception, giving the Cardinals the ball back. However, another 3-and-out would give the ball back to the Dragons with one last chance. Schneider goes deep and is picked again by the sophomore Nelson. He would be the savior in a 31-24 Cardinals victory. Dayton finishes with 241 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Chambers and Fusco each end with 1 score. Fisher beats Cortland for the first time as an Empire 8 opponent. They last beat the Red Dragons in 2013. After the break, head coach Paul Vosberg will be joining me, so stay here. Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined yet again by head coach Paul Vosberg. Glad to have you back on the show, Coach.
Thanks for having us, James.
So, Coach, past week against Cortland, early on in the game, you guys score your first touchdown, and then you force the fumble on the ensuing kickoff, score another touchdown. All of a sudden, you're up 14-3 early in that game, scoring 2 touchdowns without Cortland really even touching the ball. How big was that momentum-wise, especially with a good team like Cortland, to kind of jump up on them early like that?
Well, it was important, especially to answer after we had turned the ball over. We got the opening kickoff, didn't do anything with it. Then we went down and shut them down, but then we fumbled the punt. And fortunately, our defense went out and shut them down right there and gave them up the 3. But then we come back and answer the 3 with 7. And then our special teams turned it back over for us this time in our favor. And we scored another 7. Now all of a sudden we're up 14-3 in the first quarter. And so that was a big momentum change.
And then, you guys go in, you guys take the lead, and then Cortland started to come back, and was a 1 touchdown game there inside 3 minutes, and your defense comes up big there. Sophomore Damari Nelson comes up with 2 interceptions in the last 3 minutes. Nelson only played 1 game last year. Really was mostly a JV player, so kind of his first year up at the varsity level. What did you see out of him? Really coming into the season that he's in the role he's in, and obviously this past weekend with the 2 big plays.
Well, we saw some good things from Damar last year as a freshman for us, played on our JV, was extremely good on the JVs, had a lot of interceptions, made a lot of big plays for us there. Then, as you said, late in the year, he ended up moving up to the varsity, and we thought this year he'd come in and be a contributor, and he came big in this. He's played in all 3 games so far, and every time he's been out there in the field, he's done well, and he's doing a great job for us, and come up with those 2 picks in the fourth quarter. That was huge.
And I think he's definitely had help. I mean, obviously, we mentioned last week a lot of experience back there in the secondary, so kind of gets an extra bit of an education, especially having some experienced people like Alec Morlaro, who we'll have on later in the show.
Yeah, Alec does a good job helping the young kids, and DJ's a senior, and so is Anthony Lee back there, so they can help the young corners and stuff like that, and the young kids knowing what to do and making sure that they're ready to go.
So coming into the game, national rankings-wise, you guys were ranked 21st and Cortland was 15th. First of all, do you even look at the rankings, care about them? I know some coaches just say that it doesn't even matter to them.
No, it really doesn't. The only thing that I do have to look a little bit at the rankings because I'm a ranker. I'm one of those guys that on Sunday has to go in and figure out who the top 25 are in the country for both the D3.com poll and for the AFCA poll. So that's the only thing. But as far as I constantly try to tell our guys and our coaches, these polls really don't mean a whole heck of a lot until November. When we get around the middle of November, that's when they're going to mean a lot. So don't get too involved with them now. Just take one game at a time.
But moving on from that, though, being the fact that you and Cortland both ranked around the same place in the top 25, you think it's a big statement win, especially opening up the Empire 8 with this win against a tough Cortland team. And your players, I'm sure, even though you tell them not to look at the polls, I'm sure most of them knew that Cortland was ranked higher than you. So you think that kind of gives you an extra bit of a confidence boost, momentum boost, beating a team that's theoretically better than you?
Well, I think they might have looked at that a little bit, but I also think that they were thinking, okay, last year we ended up co-champions with them, and they got to go because we didn't beat them. So I think that was a little bit more on their mind about, we lost a game at our house last year. And this year we were going to go to their house, and we needed to get that win back and show why we were co-champions with them. So I think that had a lot to do, too. Yeah, they look at the polls. I'm sure they do. But hopefully they stay focused on the most important thing is just go out and play the best game they can.
So moving on to this next week, obviously the Courage Bowl, big game against Brockport. Going to be seeing an odd face on the other sideline that you've seen on your side in the past few years. Obviously their new defensive coordinator now, Mike Fox, got him over there now. Do you think that's going to be an advantage, extra motivation for you guys to go out there and beat their old coach?
Well, I think, and again, I'm hopeful that the players are, and they've talked about it already, that the most important thing is, no, we're playing Brockport. We're not really playing Coach Fox. They have a lot of respect for Coach Fox, as I do. He was a Cardinal for a long time. He played here, coached here. I mean, he was here since he was been about 19 years old, and this is the first time he's ever been away from home and so on. But hopefully our guys they're more worried about beating Brockport and the Golden Eagles than Coach Fox.
And obviously a big game, big attendance game. We were talking before the show. We had about 7,000 people packed in the Growney Stadium last year. Last time the game was held in Brockport, nearly 10,000 people in attendance. So a little bit more than the average game. It's a little bit extra preparation. Have to go in to kind of get the players used to the extra crowd noise environment, stuff like that?
Well, I think the big thing is just for them not to get caught up in all the hoopla of the game and just, again, stay focused on what they're doing. It is the biggest game of the year because it's the one we're playing.
Right.
And so that's what they have to concentrate on, is just making sure they're getting better, that they're a better football team this week than they were last week, and stay focused. The nice thing about the crowd and that, it will make the adrenaline flow a little bit faster on Saturday night.
Yeah, and especially if it's a barn burner like a 2 overtime game you guys had last year. I know obviously with the Courage Bowl, all the stuff with Camp Good Days, a lot of extra stuff you guys do during the week to help bring in the kids and stuff like that. From a football standpoint, do you think that it kind of is an extra distraction for your players, or do you think that kind of the extra interaction helps kind of motivate your players a little bit more and helps kind of bring them together?
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword. I think both things happen. I think it is a little bit of a distraction. We have the luncheon to go to and so on, and we'll have people at our practice on Friday that we're not used to having at our practice and so on and so forth. But on the same token, I think the kids are excited. They'll get excited about playing for Camp Good Days and special times and playing for those kids of Camp Good Days, and so that's a motivational thing too. So it's a little bit of both.
Okay. And obviously looking at Brockport, the team had the 2 overtime shootout this year. Obviously, you hope you probably can finish them off in regulation this year, not have to try and miss extra point. But sitting on this show last year, heading to Brockport, we talked about having to slow down Dan Andrews, their running back, and he comes back again. Last year, he had 242 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns. So obviously you guys still won the game, but you probably won't want to see him put up those kind of numbers again this week. What are you guys doing to kind of shut down that sort of offensive threat that they have?
Well, hopefully we're going to tackle him better than we did last year. We didn't tackle him very good last year, and we lost sight of him. And so hopefully defensively we'll do a better job against, because he's one of the top running backs in all Division III football, and one of the tops in the country. So he's definitely a great weapon that they have over there. And we're going to have to get after him, but they also have some other weapons too. So we just need to play good, solid defense, and we need to move the ball on offense and play great special teams.
All right, and on your side, obviously it looks like Tony Fusco might miss a game now. So do you think that your offense is going to change at all with not having the extra running back in there? Or obviously James Chambers is a very capable running back. Do you guys think it won't really change what you do at all?
No, I don't think it'll change much. The biggest difference is we won't have the two backs to just alternate back and forth and try to keep them both fresh and so on. So there's going to be probably a little bit more on James's plate this week because Tony's not around and so on. But other people are going to have to pick up the slack and so on. And that's what makes a football team. I mean, the next guy's up and he's got to be ready to go.
All right. Well, Coach, thank you very much for being on. Best of luck this weekend against Rockport.
Thank you.
Coming up next, seniors Alec Morlaro and Austin Coleman will be on, and you won't want to miss it.
G-Morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. You up? What'd you dream about? Me? JK.
Text me back.
I'll keep texting till you wake up.
Are your parents home later?
Is it something I did?
Exclamation point,
We're in a huge
question
fight
mark?
right This isn't a joke.
Hello?
Text me.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined now by two seniors in the team. We got senior Alec Morlaro and senior Austin Coleman. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
So we'll start with Alec. This past week, actually, your first one without an interception. Kind of had a different role this week. Past couple weeks, always came up with the timely interception. This past week, no picks, but you had 3 breakups, 8 tackles. So kind of played a different game. Going into a game, do you have anything that you kind of like set out to do, or whatever kind of happens in the field happens?
It's more so just whatever kind of happens on the field. Obviously, I go into a game wanting to get an interception or something like that and make some plays. But if that doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. I'm here. I'm just out there to try and make the plays I can. I'm not going to do anything I'm not supposed to do.
All right, nice. Moving on to Austin now, obviously on the O-line, left tackle, and really O-line, looking at just statistically, the biggest stats tell the story are how you guys did in the rushing game and how often the quarterback got sacked. So a little bit of a mixed bag when you guys got 156 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Nathan did go down with 4 sacks, but so overall, how do you feel like you guys did as a unit this past week, kind of containing Cortland, who has a pretty tough defensive line to handle?
I thought we did pretty well in maintaining their defense. Off the game, we started off strong. Had some good rushing yards in the first quarter. We got up to an early lead, 21-3. Gave Matt a lot of time, and then as any good team does, as Cortland did, they make good adjustments, and it's up to us to make adjustments back. And they did a lot of slanting up front, and it got to us a couple times. As you see, Matt had 4 sacks. But in the end, as long as we do our assignments, we should always be sound. So this week was a little disappointing from an O-line standpoint, but I thought we played overall pretty well.
And it's not like you guys are the only people that Cortland's done this to. They had 6 sacks coming in, and last year was part of the same story. So was it a lot of what their defensive line? Was it just the adjustments that you just mentioned that kind of like led them to get to him a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, early in the game we had pretty good pass pro, which allowed us to Matt to throw the ball pretty well. Made some big plays, but they made some good adjustments. They hit us a little bit where we were weak, which allowed them to get the 4 sacks.
Very nice. Moving back over to Alec, we mentioned the 2 interceptions. You had a big one last week, and we'll get to that. But this past week, the kind of savior for you guys was Damari Nelson, who got those 2 interceptions the last 3 minutes to kind of seal the game for you guys. It's only his 4th career game, so looking back, you got your first interception in your 2nd career game on varsity in your sophomore year. So Damari kind of, coming in kind of fresh this year without a lot of experience. What do you see in him, and do you see any comparisons between what he's doing right now to a younger version of you?
Yeah, he's got a lot of potential. He's a really good athlete. He's got a knack for the ball. He has really good ball skills. He's always had it ever since I first saw him. He was actually my little brother coming into camp. So he was right when I saw him play the first time, I knew he had something special in him. And I don't know if the coaches saw that in me too, but I see him being a very good football player in the future. He's already a good football player, just getting better.
Right, and those 2 big picks, such big situations, obviously speaks a lot to what you can do moving forward.
Right.
Austin, offensively, this is your third year starting on the offensive line. Got a lot of players coming back. I know both your running backs, Fusco and Chambers, coming back for their third year in the system. You got Matt Nathan coming back for a second year. A lot of your offensive weapons have kind of stayed stable. So have you felt, here in your third year starting, stuff like that, that's really kind of contributed to your success you guys have had offensively this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big aspect of it. Kyrie Demos, this is his third year starting on the offensive line as well. Schofield is second. Obviously, Cleat Joe's in his second year starting after being injured. So it's a lot more. We have more time to gel with each other because we've played with each other for 2-3 years now. And it makes our connection that much better and allows us to move the ball that much easier. And I think no matter offense, defense, special team, if you have guys that have started on it for 2-3 years, they're just going to have a better relationship with the people around them and ultimately are going to play better.
All right. And like we mentioned, we're gonna get to this, but obviously the big game-sealing interception last week. I noted it in the highlight package last week. I mean, it really looked like you read that play right from the snap. You got right to the interception and got the ball. What did you read on that play, and how were you kind of able to dissect it and get that pick?
I knew I only had one receiving threat backside, and there was no other receivers, so I just kind of had my eye on him the whole time, and I knew it was kind of a passing situation. Mm-hmm. So I saw him release upfield, and then I saw him cut to the post, and I was like, all right, I'm pretty sure I got to get on top of this. So I was on top of it, and then I saw the ball, and then I just made the play, and then tried to run, but ended up tripping up myself. So,
And you had that interception, then you had the long interception against Olivet. Was it a little easier to kind of read the one on Springfield, being that they weren't as much a passing team?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Olivet had some pretty good athletes. I mean, they had good athletes and good receivers and a good quarterback. Springfield was more of obviously a running team. They only threw the ball 16 times. I think they only completed the ball 3 times or something like that. So, yeah, it was definitely easier to get an interception on a team that doesn't throw the ball as much. I mean, the ball's kind of floating up there longer. It's not as good as a quarterback in that, in that way. So.
All right. So kind of a question I'll open to both of you guys. Obviously, you got the Courage Bowl looking forward next weekend against Brockport. So both seniors, you've both been through this several times. In your first 3 years at Fisher, what's your best Courage Bowl moment or experience that you've had the first few years doing this?
For me, it was definitely last year. I mean, that game was wild. That's the only way to explain it. It was double overtime game, and we win by a missed extra point. It's just something that doesn't ever happen, really. And obviously, I made a couple of big plays last year, so those were some good memories that I had. But, it was mainly just the team win, I think, that really, it kind of jump-started us. Even though we lost the next week, it kind of gave us confidence to know that we can win football games and that we can, go on and win some more. So,
I would also have to agree that win last year was crazy with mixed extra point. It's probably a big team win for us as a whole, but for an offensive lineman, 2 years ago when we were actually at Brockport, we rushed for over 400 yards. I mean, for me, that was probably one of the best performances that I've had, and our whole line as a general. So I would have to say 2 years ago at Brockport was probably my most memorable moment.
And then even just outside the game, all the stuff that kind of comes with it, with the hits and Camp Good Days, stuff like that. What do you guys take out of that kind of experience, getting to see those kids, stuff like that?
I mean, it means a lot to those kids. I mean, they're never going to be able to play football. They're trying to live vicariously almost through us. And, we try and make it the best experience that they can have. We try and be friendly to them, obviously, and include them in everything that we do, talk to them, make them feel really part of the team for that day. And that'll probably be as close as they'll ever get to playing football. So, you just got to do it for the kids and all that. So.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with everything that, Alex said. And, it's a big day for the kids. They have fun because they, aren't ever going to have the opportunity probably to play football or go through what we're going through. But I know it has a special place in my heart and in Matt Nathan's and Zach Forbes, our defensive lineman, because we all work for Camp Good Days over the summer and work down and volunteer down at camp. So this is a big game for us, not only for them, but we know these kids on a personal level. All the coaches, we've been there with them and seen what it's like at Camp Good Days for them. So it's just a special game for us.
All right. Nice. Well, thank you both for coming on. Best of luck this upcoming weekend.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we'll have offensive coordinator Rob Kramer on, so stay here.
Preparing today reduces the consequences of a disaster tomorrow.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus. Having on for the first time this season, offensive coordinator Rob Kramer. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So this past weekend, obviously the big game against Cortland. They're a top 15 team in the country. You guys pretty even. Statistically, you guys are pretty even at the end of the game stats wise. But your offense put up 31 points, nearly 400 yards of total offense, and obviously most importantly got the win. So what did you see out of your offense as a whole this past week, as in regards to getting the win?
One of the big things we did was we always talk about coming out early in games, and we want to play fast. When we talk about playing fast and efficient, that's moving the chains, first downs, completions. We like to play a high pace tempo offense. So when the ball stays in play, we're getting first downs, not allowing the defense to substitute. We can dictate the pace. That's what we did early on. Our first series, we did some good things. We ended up punting, and then we got an opportunity to come back on in the second series and moved right down the field and scored, which was good. We got down, drove, I believe, 80 yards, scored the touchdown, and then got another turnover right on the kick return, and were able, and I think 4 plays later, score another touchdown. Obviously, when things like that are happening, you get a little momentum, some energy. The guys start feeding off it, and things kind of set into place.
And just listing off some stats, because you got a lot of pretty good ones. You guys are 15 of 16 in the red zone, 14 of those being touchdowns, converting on nearly 60% of your third down conversions this year. You've got only 5 turnovers, which is probably 5 more than you want, but it's still a pretty good low number for the first 3 games of the season. 17 offensive touchdowns. Obviously your offense is going out there and really dominating, especially coming out week 1 against Olivet. You guys put up 52 points. A little bit of a different thing. We were mentioning pre-show, talking a little bit. When you were first on last year, it was a little bit of a different story. What did you guys do a little bit differently this year that you were able to come out and really just compete and dominate right from the start?
Well, I think a lot of it is we've kind of changed our motto on offense a little bit. We talk about being fast. Tempo sets a lot of things for us. We practice fast. We talk about, we practice fast. We can always slow it down during the game. If you're doing that, efficiently, as we talk about, that's moving the chains, first downs, completions. We always talk about getting 4+ yards on first down. When those things are happening, the ball's rolling. You get some confidence. It keeps going. And we've got a lot of production out of a lot of different pieces of our offense. We return Matt Naten at quarterback, who's a 5th-year senior, started majority of the season last year. Having James Chambers and Tony Fusco back for a 3rd year is very beneficial. We returned 4 out of 5 linemen, both our tight ends, and, a handful of wide receivers and a couple new guys. So the combination of that has really kind of helped us, do a lot of different things offensively. We're a little deeper on offense than we've been, which allows us to play faster. A guy that goes out there can give us 4 or 5 really hard plays for us, and we can get another guy in that isn't much of a drop-off, if any drop-off, and be able to go right back into it. So I think one of those aspects is, we have been a little fortunate this year with some depth. So we're going to keep plugging away, trying to do things. And, one of the things we always talk about is we talk about the efficiency, taking care of the football. I think we have two interceptions and a fumble on offense this year, which has been, taking care of the football, leads to good things.
Right.
We always talk about we don't want to leave. We can control so many things. We talk about the controllables. Well, we can control putting the ball in the end zone. And, when we get an opportunity, we've really kind of focused in on we want to get 6 points every time. I enjoy having the kickers on our team, but I like them kicking extra points, not field goals.
Yeah, and you guys have really been putting up these big numbers against pretty good competition. Coach talked about last week, had a lot of respect for Olivet, a lot of respect for Springfield, and obviously Cortland being ranked 15th in the country coming into this. So, confidence-wise, you guys obviously have all your guys coming back, but last year was kind of up and down. So when you come in this year and you put up these stuff against 3 pretty good teams to kind of start off the season, where does that put you? Where you guys kind of feel like you can probably put up those kind of numbers on anybody, really?
Yes, I think our guys have a lot of confidence. I always talk about confidence is contagious. Our guys got to believe in the process and what we're doing. A lot has to go with, each week we got to talk about we're guaranteed 60 minutes to play. Our kids really got to thrive and believe in to enjoy those 60 minutes, and you prepare all week from, Monday through Friday, and then come in Sunday and get your game film on leading into the next week. Our guys really want to enjoy and embrace Saturday afternoons. And to do that, you've got to really put the time and effort into it. And when you're doing it, you got to remember to have fun. And I think that's what a lot of our guys are doing. They really kind of seen it. Having around a lot of older guys helps out, brings those younger guys around. They start seeing the confidence and the success. It's going to get contagious. And I think not only on an offensive perspective, but that's contagious throughout defense and special teams right now. And that's one of the reasons why we are having success as a whole program. And we got to see it continue, obviously, with the teams we have coming up and going from there. But, all three programs we have faced have been very good programs throughout. I mean, Olivet was 9-1 last year, co-conference champ. Springfield is perennial, conference contender in the Empire when they were with us, and now the Liberty League. And obviously, Cortland and us tied for the conference title last year, and they're one of the best teams in the state, if not one of the best teams in the region each year.
And so next weekend's Brockport, obviously looking out on the other side of the sideline, your nemesis, the defensive coordinator and their team, your former colleague Mike Fox. What have you seen in his defense in Brockport? Anything similar to what he ran at Fisher? You think it kind of gives you guys a sort of an advantage?
A little bit. He's not run the same defense as he was running when he was here. Coach Fox and I are good friends. Been at each other's weddings. We golf in the off season. We've been close throughout. But on Saturday, I'm going to look to get after him. I'm sure he's going to try to do the same. He's always been prided himself on stopping the run. He's done a nice job with that, and I'm sure he's going to continue to do that throughout his time over there. So far this year, he's done a nice job with it. But I think there's a lot of different things that they do that play into our hands. We're going to look to, stretch them vertically. That's what we've been successful with, throwing the ball downfield, and then working some of our screen stuff underneath and being able to run the ball between the tackles. So we're going to, it's going to be a fun game. Obviously, for the Camp Good Days, the cause it is, and, our players, they're going to get their 60 minutes this week, and they're going to want to embrace it and have fun with it.
Yeah, and you mentioned them stopping the run, and that's really kind of, if you look at the comparison between teams, that's kind of the stat that kind of jumps out, is that they only allow 77 rush yards per game, and you guys run for 177 each game through the first 3 games of the season. Obviously, maybe missing Tony Fusco this week, might be down to just James Chambers, a pretty capable back, but obviously with that tough running defense, where do you think that kind of puts you guys, kind of being down one of your key guys there?
We'll figure it out. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to is, it's the next man up. The next guy's got to step up. We're going to do some things to kind of be a little creative. Maybe stick a wide receiver in the backfield. Maybe, go some empty sets, and, probably not going to have our quarterback run anymore. I always laugh at him. He's like, let me carry the ball. I don't know. But we've got some very capable running backs. We've got a couple guys that we can get the ball in the backfield that play wide receiver. A lot of different guys will touch the football, in the absence of Tony, if he's going to be able to play or not. Right now it's kind of up in the air. But I'm not, I think, we're going to go with what we have. We've been dealt a hand and we're going to play it. We're just going to have to find creative ways to manufacture yards, whether it's inside, outside, who's touching the ball or whatnot.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Coach. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
That's all the time we have for this episode of Fisher Football Focus. Check back next week for our Courage Bowl episode when the Cardinals take on Brockport. For Cardinal Television, I'm James Bailey. Catch you next time.